literally every day, and leaving me big stacks and stuff on the end times.
And you just see this good and evil just going farther and farther apart.
We are clearly moving towards something big. Who doesn't feel that? Everybody feels it. And it is, the divide is spiritual. I don't think I ever one time heard someone mention a spiritual dimension in his life, ever. That was totally verboten. Like, that was the one thing you could not talk about.
Sean Ryan sits down with Tucker Carlson, and they talk about the spiritual implications that are going on within the world and the unseen realm and all the darkness that is happening within the world. As they try to tackle this conversation, I'm going to also be pointing to some scriptures that help us navigate all of the things that are going on. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I know we can do it with your help, so thank you so much for all the love and support. Let's get into it.
I mean, the U.S. is the #1 consumer of kitty on the planet, and you just see this good and evil just going farther and farther apart, and it's becoming, at least from my point of view, it's becoming.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more vehemently, and I don't have too many, great insights into things or prophetic feelings. I'm very conventional, but the one thing that I really felt strongly a couple of years ago was really strongly, I felt it overwhelmingly, like from outside me, was that there's some form of religious revival coming. I felt that really strongly. And I'm like an extremely secular person. Obviously, I say every other word. I'm sorry that I do that. I shouldn't. I definitely grew up that way. So like for me to have that insight, but overwhelming. And I said it to a couple of friends of mine who were very secular, and they're like, what? But I felt it, and that has turned out, I think, to be true. And I have no idea where it's going. And I get a lot of people coming to my barn like every day, literally every day, and leaving me big stacks and stuff on the end times. And I think history ends. I think we all sort of sense history ends. But it's also really clear that we don't know when it ends. So I kind of resent that a little bit, because it's like,
there's a rise in spiritual curiosity. So many people now, especially Gen Z, are spiritual aware. They're not saying everything is just matter, physical matter and energy. They believe in spiritual things, and they talk about witchcraft and tarot cards and all of that. Like, we got to point them to Jesus. That's the reality. But they're more open because of a lot of the evil, though, too.
Like, what are you, God? Like, you know the future? We don't know the future. We can't know. We're not going to know the future, okay? That's very clear, and I believe it. But we are clearly moving towards something big. Who doesn't feel that? Everybody feels it. And it is, the divide is spiritual. And I try to be mindful of my own sort of sectarian limitations. Like, when you're one thing, you think everyone else should be that thing or whatever. And I really am a Christian, or attempting to be. But I think it's enough to say the people who know they're not God, who show reverence before a power bigger than themselves, like, those people are on our side. That's how I personally feel. And I think you need to believe in Jesus. I think that, okay? But I am also willing to believe that as a functional matter, the people, I had an experience that this is like, I'm sure will offend a lot of people, but it's real. I was flying to the Middle East recently, and I was on one of those planes with the double-decker planes, A380s, I think. What a big plane. And I go back, take a leak, and it's like everyone's asleep or whatever on the plane. And there's like that little bar area is like an open area. And there's a guy, he looked to be South Asian, he looked Pakistani to me, but maybe not. Had to be 70 years old. And he's got his prayer mat out, and he's praying. There's no one around, and he's praying in the middle of the flight, and everyone's asleep. And I've never been particularly pro-Islam. In fact, I was very anti-Islam for a long time. And I thought to myself, I'm not a Muslim. I'm never going to be a Muslim. I disagree with Islam in a lot of ways. But a guy who's taking time out in the middle of a fucking flight when everyone's asleep to acknowledge that he's not God and bow before his God, I don't think that man's my enemy on a deep level. I just don't. I'm sorry. Call me like a tool of Muhammad or something. I'm not. I'm a Christian. But like, how is that guy my enemy? He's a massive improvement over everyone in DC who thinks they're God. Like, I do think that. I'm sorry. I do. there's something about the humility of acknowledging I'm not in charge. I can't see the future. I'm totally imperfect. That is the most important thing. And that's how I kind of see the spiritual.
Interesting. So, yeah, you can show some respect and be like, yeah, that person is taking time out of their day, obviously worshiping the false god, but like, how much more should you be spending time with God? How much more should you be praying and asking God for direction and worshiping him and praying and being on your face and knees? Because if they can do it, you should be able to do it with the living God, the true God. That puts a lot of things into perspective.
That said, Christianity seems to be growing in power even as the church is collapsing into absurdity. Church leaders, not all, but a lot of them are totally corrupt. I don't know what's going on with the Pope. I'm not Catholic, so I'm not going to comment on that. But like, whoa, doesn't look like Christianity to me.
It's another symbol.
On the other hand, the number of Catholics, some of my closest friends are Catholic, a lot of my closest friends are Catholic. They're the most fervent, sincere, on-target Christians I know. I'm just saying that. They are. I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe their theology is wrong. I don't know. It's not up for me to judge, but they are serious Christians and they mean it, and their life is bearing the fruit of those beliefs. In other words, as the church, like the structure collapses, some of the members of the church seem even stronger. Have you noticed this?
Well, I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about this morning. The church is not, I'm new at this.
Oh, me too. Oh, gosh.
The church is not a brick and mortar structure.
No.
The church is the living body of believers in God and Jesus Christ. And that.
Well, yeah, the Bible also talks about, guys, under persecution, the church grows. It's constantly, you see that in the Bible constantly. When people were murdered, despite that, their faith grew. Despite that, people started to convert because of their faith.
Is it? There is no club. There is no, I'm in this camp and you're in that camp. You're either in the church or you're not.
I agree.
It's not a fucking brick and mortar.
I totally agree. But you see it. All of a sudden you see it. I mean, I made it like 50 years, more than 50 years in this country without really talking. I mean, where I worked, in the media, television, people come in and like talk about whatever, some threesome they had, or they're doing meth over the weekend. And I'm like, people are pretty far out, in TV, because it's like, it's all theater kids. It's all people who project and share too much. Mm-hmm. So I just worked in a world where people just would like tell you their deepest secrets, like at a drop of a hat. I don't think I ever one time heard someone mention a spiritual dimension in his life, ever. That was totally verboten. Like, that was the one thing you could not talk about.
Wow.
I've never heard anybody talk about spirituality. It was so embarrassing. Like, your freaky sex life, not embarrassing. The idea you might pray, highly embarrassing.
Wow.
And that's just the world I've lived in. I mean,
that's called living of this world. That's why they talk about being a fool for Christ. Because by worldly standards, the things that you're doing seem foolish. But in all of reality, obviously it's not. But for them, it does, because they don't know.
I'm hardly bragging about it. I'm ashamed of it. It's ridiculous, actually. But that is just true. And for the record, I was not into meth or freaky sex, at all. Very conventional person, but I was around that a lot. And all of a sudden, in the last few years, just random sort of normal secular American people are like, I was praying about that, or I think God's doing this, or like, wait, what? We were not, okay, I have a good memory. That's like my one superpower. We were not having these conversations in my world 5 years ago. Nobody.
Yeah.
So what is that? There's something going on. And of course, that's the way God works. Evil is not unchallenged. Clearly, we're under the oppression of evil, not just the Biden administration, which is just a manifestation of it, but there's something way bigger, trying to hurt people for the sake of hurting people with climate change or manufactured famines, which are clearly that's going on. Pharma stuff. There's all this evil, right? It's very obvious, and everyone watching this, I think, knows. Of course, everyone knows what I'm talking about. But that's not going to happen in a vacuum. That can't happen. That's not how it works. That's not how the universe works. That's not how God works. So as that stuff rises in power, so does God, who's more powerful. And I know how the story ends. He wins. So that's true. I'm not afraid at all. So, but it's cool to see it. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like
I do.
God is showing his face more. I mean, is that
Absolutely. I mean, we talked to Brett.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He literally just grabbed me by the collar and was like, and yeah, and ever since he got my attention, I'm all in. And it's there's nothing that gives me hope. There's no presidential candidate. There's no politician. There's nobody. There is no human that gives me hope.
It's all part of the
anymore.
deception.
And who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't think I'm wrong. But I look at all these things that we're seeing with the gender wars, with the race wars, with the division, with the right and left, with the Easter Sunday is now Trans Visibility Day. The Pope is saying that gay marriage is great. Look, I don't give a shit about gay marriage. But I'm sorry, but it's the Pope is not the man to change the Bible.
Well, the Pope didn't say, to be fair, the Pope didn't say that gay marriage is okay. He never said that. I think one thing he said, he would like bless like a gay person, as in like he would pray for someone. Not saying he would bless a marriage. If that makes sense. And obviously you can't get married in a church, Catholic church, if you're gay. But that reminds me of the Antichrist. Everyone wants to put someone on a pedestal. No man. They want to put a person to worship, to look at. And that reminds me of the Antichrist. They want that. They want that physical, tangible being. And that's going to be the Antichrist.
Or the Word of God. And
or just take 3 steps back. What is that? It's like, don't get lost in the weeds of the details. Like,
yeah,
that's fucked up. You're serving the other team. I'm sorry, you are.
But what I'm getting at is I look at all this stuff as symbology, and it's symbolizing that all this stuff that I had dismissed for years is very real.
It's the only thing that is real, actually.
Yeah. It gives me, when I see this stuff, it still pisses me off and enrages me, and the Easter thing like really threw me.
Oh yeah.
But
at least they're showing their face.
Once I calm down,
they murdered the president of the United States and lied about it. So, right, okay, so like this has been going on a long time, long before we were born. In fact, it's been going on for all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this about the Christians, to their great credit, they're not shocked at all. I'm like, well, what did you think? Mm-hmm. You thought some politician was going to save you? Are you worshiping people now? You don't worship people.
Yeah.
They're people. No one's going to save you.
That's what I'm saying. People think the Antichrist is going to save
you in this life. That's a lie. And by the way, shame on you for believing it, you fool.
Yeah.
Like that's how they feel about it.
Wow.
And the rest of us, the dumb people like me, are like, I can't believe it's not real. Like, they've been lying to me. I can't believe it. All the stories you told me there's no Santa? Seriously? And the Christian's just like, what? Of course it's fake. Like, are you kidding?
I'm pretty sure this video is like, I don't know, a couple years old, because just the things that they're talking about. And I feel like Tucker Carlson has grown a little bit. So has Sean Ryan. I get Tucker Carlson still has some problems. Seems like he's very anti-Semitic towards Jewish people. That's what I'm getting from him. Hopefully he gets that cleared up, to be honest.
You don't fight against, it's not against men. Like it's the same thing that's been going on again for all time, that every other civilization has believed in as its core belief, except us. And we're like shocked. I can't believe it that our stupid post-war materialist theology turned out to be fake. Who could have guessed?
Yeah. But that's what gives me hope.
Totally.
Seeing all the symbology.
Totally. And also, you're kind of commanded, or you are commanded, to be hopeful and cheerful and joyful. And if you're not, then that's kind of on you. Then, you know what I mean? Then you obviously don't believe it. I mean, I stopped going to church during COVID for that exact reason, when the priestess at our church was like, which is itself like nuts, but whatever. The denomination I grew up in was nuts. I didn't quite realize how nuts until COVID. And then the rector of the church is like, well, we can't have services because I'm afraid of getting COVID and dying. And it's like, You're afraid of dying, really? You're afraid. Their whole religion was not to be afraid of dying. Like the whole point of our religion is that we don't need to be afraid of dying. Like, what's the other point? I don't know. Do we have another point? I think that is the point. And so if you're afraid of dying, but I remember being so shocked by that. And I went home and said to my wife, I was like, we're not going to church again. This chick says she's afraid of dying. I was like, what? And we were both like almost in, because we really did grow up in this.
So the person at his church was a priestess. So a woman priest. That is some red flags right there. That is the problem, Tucker. Your whole problem, you're going to a church that had a priestess. Probably some woke Methodist church or something like that.
Church, and I was like, we were both so shocked. And then looking back 4 years later, I'm like, I can't believe we were shocked. Like, how dumb were we? How naive were we?
Yeah.
Of course, people are deceptive but lies are always exposed, like in the end, and they're not going to win. They may have some temporary, ground gaining offensives, but they're not going to win.
Yeah.
Are they?
No, they're not.
Can I say one last thing?
Absolutely.
Since I know a lot of these people the people I'm always railing against, and I hate them and all this stuff, but like, they're totally suffering now. They're miserable. Like I think if you looked inside Tony Blinken's soul, you would not find anything interesting or profound at all. At all. It's as like banal as you imagine it is. This is my guess. But I think you would find a lot of turmoil and unhappiness and insecurity, barely sublimated rage, unhappiness, chaos.
Yeah.
And I think that is true of all these people. You think Joe Biden is happy? Or his creepy fake doctor wife, or any of these people, Gavin Newsom, you really think he's like got a joyful life? Like, these people are living in hell now, actually.
Yeah, 100%. Like, people are hurting. No joke about it. A life without Jesus is filled with pain and agony, suffering, miserable. They can't be happy, even though that's their entire pursuit is happiness. But if your only pursuit is happiness, you will be filled with a miserable life. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in the dark world, against evil spirits in the heavenly places." And that's the reality. So guys, we need to be praying for our enemies, be praying for the people who persecute us and think different than us, because guys, that's who we're fighting. We're fighting against the evil rulers and authorities in the unseen world. And we want all people to be saved. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Now let's remember, guys, Jesus loves you.